Hey guys, tonight we're going to do something a little different. I want you to imagine it's chilly outside, like the kind of chilly that makes you wrap yourself up in a thick blanket with a mug of hot cocoa clutched in both hands. You're snuggled in. Maybe your pillow's a little too high, but in a comforting way. Tonight's tale it's about a god, but not the lightning-hurling, rage-filled kind. No, this one turns into a goose. For love. I know. Sounds like a Greek myth written by someone who just discovered birdwatching and heartbreak in the same week. You'd never survive a Greek god's dating scene. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. I like knowing who else is falling asleep to ancient chaos at 2 a.m. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step softly into the fog of your imagination, the muffled honk of a distant bird echoing across a reed-filled marsh. There's a chill in the air, the kind that makes your fingers curl instinctively as the smell of damp earth and wild mint drifts up from the waterlogged ground. This place isn't quite real, but it isn't quite a dream either. Somewhere in the brambles, history is getting ready to embarrass itself. You hear the rush of wings, and just like that you're in ancient Greece, except not the glamorous kind with marble temples and echoing speeches. No, this is the messy corner of myth, the one scribbled in the margins by a poet with a hangover. And here's where we meet him. Zeus, king of the gods, stormbringer, beard enthusiast, emotional roller coaster. Tonight, though, he's not wielding thunder. He's gazing longingly over a field, watching a woman named Nemesis stroll past like she owns Olympus itself. Because, well, she kind of does. Not literally, but she's a goddess too. Goddess of divine retribution, which sounds like someone you definitely shouldn't mess with. You don't flirt with karma. You especially don't chase karma around in bird form. And yet Zeus had a problem. He'd already turned into a bull to seduce Europa, a swan for Leda, a golden shower for Danae, which, let's face it, is the most uncomfortable metaphor ever. So when it came to Nemesis, you'd think he'd be out of tricks. You'd be wrong. He tried the usual, poetry, charm, lightning-shaped chocolates. But Nemesis wasn't having it. She was not impressed by kingly titles or peacock chariots. She ran, literally ran, across fields, through forests, over rivers. And Zeus did what any all-powerful immortal would do. He shape-shifted into a goose and followed her. Yes, a goose, not even a majestic eagle. Not a sleek hawk, a goose, honking, flapping, neck waggling, pure poultry desperation. Picture. It, the god of thunder waddling after a goddess who just wants a moment of peace and maybe a latte. Some historians still argue whether it was a goose or a swan. Art gets blurry, and the ancient Greeks weren't big on accuracy. But the general agreement is, bird form was involved, and not the dignified kind. Now imagine your Nemesis. You're tired. You've outrun a god, evaded flirtation that feels more like harassment, and just when you think you're safe, you hear flapping, and a very determined honk. Not exactly the sound of romance. Eventually, some say from exhaustion, others say from divine trickery, Nemesis slows. She turns. The bird is right there. It shimmers for a moment, light rippling over its feathers, and becomes Zeus again. Classic move. No one's proud of what happens next. But this isn't a romance, it's mythology. So, of course, the next scene involves an egg. Yes, an egg. Nemesis lays one. Don't think too hard about the logistics, and from that egg, a girl, not just any girl. Helen, the face that would one day launch 1,000 ships, the woman whose beauty would ignite the Trojan War, all born from one extremely awkward divine poultry pursuit. And now, as you lie there under your warm covers, you realize something. The Greeks weren't writing myths to be logical. They were writing them to explain the chaos of existence. Why is love so unpredictable? Why do powerful people do embarrassing things? Why do birds keep showing up in stories that are definitely not about birds? Because mythology is a mirror. A weird, cracked, shimmering mirror that shows us everything we try to hide. Like, say, our inner goose. So next time you see a goose staring at you with suspicious intensity, maybe, just maybe, It's a god with commitment issues, or maybe it just wants your sandwich. Anyway, we're only just beginning. The egg is hatched, the drama is simmering, and your journey through awkward divine choices is far from over. Let yourself drift a little. The water in the marsh laps gently at the edges of your thoughts. You hear a soft honk in the distance. Not threatening, just mildly disappointed. You keep walking. The air is thicker now, the scent of wild thyme mingling with something oddly metallic, like forgotten bronze rusting under ivy. The sun doesn't shine here. It lingers like a half-finished thought. And ahead of you, feathers. Lots of them. A white trail, fluffed and absurd, leading into a dense grove. You follow the feathers because of course you do. You're already invested in this bizarre, bird-related divine disaster. So here's the situation. Nemesis is on the run again. She's had it with gods, proposals, and unsolicited honking. She's sprinting across the ancient countryside like she's training for the first Olympic Games. Her sandals slap against the dusty earth, and every breath she takes is a whispered curse aimed directly at Olympus. Behind her, flapping and flailing, comes Zeus, still a goose. You can hear it now, the awkward slap of webbed feet on packed dirt, the occasional burst of honking that's just a little too enthusiastic, like someone trying to sing opera through a snorkel. This is divine pursuit at its least majestic. The king of the gods reduced to a waddling mess, chasing after a woman who has made it very clear she wants none of this. There's an old story, less famous, barely whispered, that says Nemesis actually changed shape several times to escape him. A deer, a fish, even a bee. It was like divine Pokemon, but more desperate. Every time she shifted, Zeus followed suit. Swan, hawk, ram, and yes, goose. It was a mythological shape-shifting showdown, and quite frankly, nobody came out looking cool. Most scholars think these tales were added later to jazz things up, or maybe to explain the weird animal statues scattered across ruined temples. But some argue quite seriously that this bird chase wasn't just comic relief. It was a reflection of the gods' inability to handle rejection. Historians still debate whether Nemesis actually consented to what happened next, or whether the myths were just trying to soften something darker. Some versions say she eventually gave in. Others say she was tricked. And then there are versions where she simply laid the egg and left. Zero drama, zero conversation, zero need for goose-based trauma therapy. And you? You're watching all of this unfold, like someone peeking through their fingers during a really awkward reality show. It's uncomfortable, it's ridiculous, and it's very, very Greek. Eventually, Nemesis vanishes into a temple. You pause. The stone columns are weathered, vines curling around their base like sleeping snakes. Inside it's dim and quiet, save for the echo of your own footsteps. And at the far end, you see it. A marble pedestal. Upon it, something smooth, pale, and oval, the egg. It's just sitting there, no divine glow, no magic hum, just an egg, a large one, sure. But otherwise, an egg. And as you approach, you swear you hear the faintest crack. Let's rewind a little. This entire Goose saga isn't just about absurd love, it's also about consequence. Nemesis, after all, is the goddess of retribution. She brings balance to arrogance, justice to the unjust. So the idea that she births Helen, whose beauty would cause war, ruin, and fire, isn't just ironic, it's poetic. The gods, it seems, love a dramatic setup. But back to the temple. You reach out, fingertips hovering over the shell, and there's that sound again. Crack, followed by a creak. A groan of stone, maybe. Or wings. Suddenly, you're no longer in the temple. The world shifts around you, like a dream folding in on itself. The forest is gone. The pedestal vanishes. And you're standing in the middle of a vast sunlit plain. Tall golden grasses wave like an audience. And there in the center is Helen. She's maybe 10 years old, barefoot, chasing butterflies, laughing. Totally unaware that a decade from now, men will wage war over her smile. You feel a pang, a little sadness, a little awe. This is how myths start, with ordinary moments wrapped in the fabric of the divine. A child playing in a field, a god turning into poultry, a woman trying to outrun fate in a pair of overworked sandals. You step back. Let the grasses swallow the scene, and as you do, something brushes your leg. You glance down. A single white feather. It sticks to your skin like a reminder. You flick it off, but it doesn't fall. It drifts. Slowly, like it knows how heavy this story will become. You keep walking. The wind picks up. It smells like laurel, salt, and regret, and somewhere behind you, faint and absurd, a honk. Not a loud one, not desperate this time, just tired. Because even gods get exhausted chasing love they don't understand. Let that thought settle. Let it soften in your mind. The sky above turns a gentler shade of blue. The breeze threads through your hair like a lullaby, and just as you start to forget the chase, breath, 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 breath. You're not sure when the salt in the air turned sharper, or when the steady hum of the sea grew loud enough to press against your bones. But now you're standing on a wooden dock, barefoot, your toes curled around ancient planks bleached grey. By 100 impatient summers and before you ships, so many ships their hulls are curved like ribs, their sails catch the breeze with the lazy confidence of men who think this is all going to be a glorious adventure, and not a 10-year-long existential failure. Ropes creak. Oars lie stacked like weapons. The sea stares back like it knows how. This all ends and isn't planning to warn anyone. This is Aulis, the staging ground of pride and panic, where the best warriors in Greece have gathered, not for gold, not for gods, but for a woman they've mostly never met. A woman born from an egg who may or may not have wanted any of this, who may or may not even be in Troy, depending on which version you hear. But the ships are here, and so are you. You walk along the dock, your fingers brushing the rough wooden rails. The salt stings. The sun is high and hot, and the air smells like sweat, wine, and the slow burn of ambition. You pass tents where Ajax is sharpening his sword for the 3rd time today, not because it's dull, but because his ego can't sit still. Odysseus is arguing with someone about logistics while pretending he doesn't care about going to war. Achilles, somewhere out of sight, is probably wrestling his fate into submission or braiding Patroclus's hair, depending on his mood. And then there's Agamemnon, king of Mycenae, Menelaus's brother. Not the smartest man in the room, but definitely the loudest. He's standing on a crate, giving a speech that includes words like honor, justice, and divine will. But mostly he's just mad that Troy has Helen and Greece does not. Never mind that no one stopped to ask Helen what she wanted. There's a part of this story they don't tell in the epic poems. The waiting. The endless waiting. The wind that refused to blow. The ships that just sat there bobbing slightly in the water, while the army grew restless and the gods got bored. See, Artemis, goddess of the hunt, protector of wild things, wasn't thrilled with Agamemnon. He'd insulted her somehow, killed a sacred deer, bragged too loudly, typical. So she stopped the wind, dead calm, no breeze, no war, just sunburned egos and rotting supplies. You wander through the camp as tempers flare and dice clatter in the dust. A boy sharpens a spear that's too long for him. A bard plucks a lyre like it's a punishment. Someone's cooking something. That smells faintly of goat and disappointment. Eventually you find yourself on a small hill overlooking the harbor. From here the ships look like toys. A child's bath game gone dramatically over budget. And beside you a priest murmurs a prayer. You don't catch all the words, just fragments. Sacrifice, daughter, fate. The gods aren't asking for gold. This time, they want Iphigenia, Agamemnon's daughter. That's how badly he wants to sail. Some say he tricked her, told her she was marrying Achilles, threw a fake wedding, then led her to the altar like a lamb. Others say she went willingly, believing her death would save Greece. A few versions claim Artemis intervened at the last second, swapping her for a deer and whisking her away to serve as a priestess far from the war. The truth? Still debated, still painful, but the wind returned. The sails filled. And now, as the sun sinks low and turns the water to molten gold, the ships begin to move. One by one, they slip away from the shore like arrows drawn from a trembling bow. You watch them go. 1,000 ships, give or take, all chasing a story, a woman, a war that will outlast them all. You sit quietly, because this is the part people forget. Not the battles, not the heroes, but the moment before the myth hardens, when everything could still turn back and no one does. You hear laughter, forced, thin, someone singing an old sailor's tune with lyrics that don't rhyme. A gull shrieks overhead like it's trying to warn them, but the ships are already, dots on the horizon. And Helen? She's waiting, or not, or already regretting everything. Depends on which bard you ask. You close your eyes, feel the wind. It's soft now, like a thread pulling you gently forward. The sea has claimed the story, You open your eyes to gold, not coins, not treasure, but the warm, low glow of candlelight flickering off polished marble. You're in a grand hall now, wide columns painted with fading swirls of red and blue. The air smells of roasted meat and overripe figs. Laughter curls through the room like incense, but it's brittle. The kind of laughter people use when they're trying not to yell. This is Mount Olympus, and yes, somehow, you're at the gods' dinner party, or more precisely, the worst wedding crash in divine history. Everything looks gorgeous. The food is abundant. The music is oddly jazzy for something happening before time itself. Apollo is lounging near a harp, half playing, half flirting. Hera is pretending to enjoy herself while eyeing Zeus like she might stab him with a dessert. Fork, and at the center of it all, two gods getting married. You don't really care who. Honestly, neither did the myths. They barely name the couple. Because this wedding wasn't about love, it was about what happened next. You feel a sudden chill as a new guest enters. She wasn't invited. No one ever invites her. Eris.goddess. Of discord. Mood. Permanently unbothered. She strides into the party like she owns the place and doesn't even glance at the bride. In her hand, she's holding an apple. Not just any apple. A golden one. Shining. Inscribed with 3 simple, awful words to the fairest. Cue divine chaos. Immediately 3 goddesses zero in like it's Black Friday at a celestial boutique. Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena, all powerful, all beautiful, all unwilling to back down. Each one steps forward, claiming the apple. And because the gods are apparently incapable of solving anything like adults, they don't draw straws. They don't flip a coin. They outsource the decision to a mortal, and not just any mortal, Paris, Prince of Troy, occasional shepherd, occasional heartthrob, 0 qualifications for judging divine beauty. You're now standing on the slope of Mount Ida. The party is gone. The apple is still gleaming. Paris is squinting up at 3 immortals who are actively trying not to smite him out of impatience. Each goddess makes her case. Hera offers power, kingship over all mankind. Nice, if you're into tyranny. Athena promises wisdom and victory in war. Solid, if you're planning a rebrand. Aphrodite, she offers love. Or more specifically, Helen, the most beautiful mortal woman alive. Paris doesn't hesitate. He gives the apple to Aphrodite like it's obvious, like choosing a future homewrecker. Over-divine diplomacy makes perfect sense. Spoiler, it doesn't. You're not here to judge him. You're just here to witness the moment history pivots, because a man with nice hair was overwhelmed by the promise of a pretty face. Some historians argue the judgment of Paris never happened, that it was just a way for storytellers to explain why so many gods picked sides in the Trojan War. Others say it's metaphor, a warning about beauty or desire, or how easily men can be manipulated when women weaponize mascara. Regardless, the result is the same. Helen is promised to Paris. Never. Mind that she's already married to Menelaus. You blink. The mountain fades. Now you're in Sparta's throne room. Helen stands beside Menelaus. He's speaking with Paris, smiling the strange smile of a host who has no idea his guest is about to ruin his entire life. Paris is charming, smooth, the kind of man who uses darling way too early in a conversation. And Helen? She says nothing, she just watches. And slowly, subtly, she begins to drift. Was it Aphrodite's magic? Did she want to go? Was it both? Even the myths aren't sure. Some say she was enchanted, taken against her will. Others say she fell in love, that she longed for something beyond Spartan stone walls and Menelaus's earnest but thoroughly unremarkable chin. The truth is a blur, told and retold so many times it's more echo than fact. But one night, Helen is gone. And Paris? He sails back to Troy with the prize no man should have taken. You step out of the palace as torches light across the city. Menelaus is shouting. Soldiers scramble. Somewhere in the distance, you hear a servant whisper, "She went willingly." Another answers, "She was stolen." You realize both might be right. And as dawn breaks, painting the sea with streaks of pink and fire, the gears of war begin to turn. Because every man who swore that oath, the one about defending Helen's marriage, will now be called to arms for honor, for loyalty, for one face. You sit at the edge of the marble steps. The birds are singing. The breeze smells of rosemary and smoke. You close your eyes. You close your eyes. You're crouching in the dark now. It's tight. Too tight. Your knees are pressed against your chest. There's a sharp corner of something wooden poking your back, and the air smells like stale sweat and old pine resin. It's pitch black, except for a sliver of light slipping between two boards just above your eye level. You're inside a horse. No, not literally. You're not wedged into a real animal's ribcage. This is the Trojan horse, the most ridiculous, most iconic piece of ancient military theater ever staged. And somehow you're wedged in here with 30 other guys, all holding their breath and trying not to sneeze. You can hear them, murmuring, fidgeting. One of them is definitely chewing something, and someone else whispers, "I swear to Hera. If you drop that fig, I will kill you with my helmet." Charming. Outside, the city of Troy sleeps, or celebrates, or drinks itself silly. You don't blame them. After 10 years of siege, the Greeks are gone. Their camps abandoned, their ships vanished. All that remains is this giant wooden sculpture left at the gates. A gift, a peace offering, a message maybe. Sorry about the war, please accept this absurdly large barnyard idol. And the Trojans, they bought it, hook, line and honk. You shift your weight as gently as you can. Your left leg is fully asleep. Your sword, blunt from disuse, is digging into your side. Odysseus, the man who dreamed up this whole plan, is sitting somewhere nearby, probably grinning into the darkness like a smug raccoon. You think about Helen. She's in the city somewhere, draped in silk, probably pretending not to hear the cheers. Outside her window, some say she knew about the plan, that she signaled the Greeks, that she walked the walls every night, eyes scanning the horizon, waiting for sails. Others say she was just surviving, smiling at parties, pouring wine for the man who stole her and the men who would kill for her. The myths don't agree, but they do agree on one thing. This night changes everything. Outside the horse, voices rise, laughter, drunken singing. Somewhere close by, a child is tapping on the wooden belly of the horse, probably trying to figure out if it's hollow. It is. Inside, your throat tightens because you're not just hiding. You're waiting for a signal, the soft whisper of a torch, the creak of a hidden door. The night is still thick with heat, and you can feel the city exhale, finally, blessedly free of war. The Trojans have thrown open the gates. Welcomed. The statue, rolled it inside like a trophy, and you are a Trojan curse wrapped in pine and patience. But here's something odd, something most people don't talk about. While the men inside the horse waited, Helen walked outside. She circled the horse, whispered to it, mimicked the voices of the men's wives, Odysseus's wife, Menelaus's voice, each one perfect, haunting, trying to lure them out. No one knows why. Maybe she was testing them. Maybe she was protecting Troy. Maybe the gods made her do it. But inside that horse the warriors froze. Their hands trembled. Their knuckles whitened. No one moved. That's the part that still gets you. The silence. Not the battle that would come. Not the fire. But the hours before. The aching, gut-twisting stillness of men too deep in the story to back out and too far from home to breathe. Eventually night fell hard. The city slept, and Sinon, the Greek soldier who'd faked his betrayal and gotten left behind to sell the horse, lit the beacon. The ships returned. Quiet as guilt, you press your ear against the wood. A whisper, then another. The trapdoor creaks open above you, just wide enough to see stars. You climb out. The city is laid out before you like a banquet, unaware that the guests have knives. You move quickly, soft leather boots on stone, sword drawn. Behind you others leap down. Achilles, still bloody from dreams. Odysseus, blinking into the dark with a grin like cracked pottery. They spread out. To the gates, to the armories, to begin the end, because this is what war becomes. Not glory, not honor, just fire and silence and too many men crawling out of wooden lies. As dawn bleeds into the sky, Troy burns from every corner, every wall, every tower. The horse stands in the center of it all, still, empty now, watching, and Helen, no one really knows what she did. Some say she begged Paris to fight. Others say she packed her things and waited at the docks. Still others say she watched from a balcony, her face unreadable, already myth. The truth, lost to smoke. You sit on the edge of the fountain, ash in your mouth, listening to the screams that will become someone else's bedtime story. The horse casts a long shadow across the courtyard, and still, no one talks about how quiet it all was. You close your eyes. You're running now. Your lungs burn. Your feet slap against marble slick with ash and blood. Every turn leads to another ruined hallway, another collapsed column, another echo that might be a scream, or just the sound of Troy collapsing on itself. You're not a hero tonight. You're just trying to get out, and you're not alone. Ahead of you, a man moves with desperate grace, muscles tight, eyes wild. He carries something on his back, not treasure, not a sword. A man, his father, bent and trembling, wrapped in a rough wool cloak. And behind him a boy clings to his tunic, bare feet bloody but quiet, always quiet. This is Aeneas, the man who will not die here. You're in the last heartbeat of Troy. The palaces are crumbling. The flames rise like they're trying to reach Olympus itself. Somewhere a statue of Apollo crashes down, decapitating itself on the steps of a burning temple. Somewhere else Priam, Troy's king, father of 50, breaker of promises, is dying at the foot of an altar, blood pooling into the sacred stone, as if the gods themselves are no longer answering their mail. And you keep running. Because the story won't let you stop. You follow Aeneas down an alley that once smelled of wine and roasted garlic, and now smells like melting copper and burnt parchment. He doesn't speak. He doesn't look back. He just moves, forward, always forward, with his father across his back and destiny biting at his heels. You want to help. But you're not here to change anything. You're just here to see it. History doesn't let you touch the pieces, only watch as they fall. You cross the marketplace. Remember when it was full of chatter, merchants yelling about fish and olives, the clang of bronze coins in children's fists? Now it's a battlefield, bodies half hidden under awnings, the painted signs charred, letters curling like old leaves. Aeneas moves like he knows a secret way out. Maybe he does, or maybe hope just makes you clever. Here's something strange, something the stories usually forget. Aeneas wasn't supposed to survive, not in the way the other heroes were painted. He wasn't flashy, didn't boast, didn't win duels with cool catchphrases, but he was loyal. And he carried the weight of 3 generations on his back while the city burned around him. The gods saw that, and so did the poets. You duck under a collapsed arch, sparks landing in your hair, like soft insults. In the distance you hear Ajax screaming, or maybe it's Menelaus. The Greeks are inside the walls now. This is their feast. This is what they came for. Victory with a side of chaos. But you stay with Aeneas. You reach the northern gate. It's half blocked by rubble, but he finds a way. Always finds a way. His father groans softly. His son doesn't cry. The boy just looks up at the sky like he's memorizing the stars. Because he will need them later. He will follow them across oceans. And here's the part that still gets argued. Some versions say Aphrodite herself appears, veiled and glowing, guiding Aeneas through the smoke. Others say she sent omens, snakes of fire that licked at the ground without burning, whispering this way, this way. And there's one version, tucked in an obscure scroll, that says Aeneas never ran, that he walked calmly through a city in flames like a man already promised another empire. You step through the gate and there it is, the night sky, wide, empty, full of stars that don't care who wins. Aeneas stops. He doesn't speak, just turns, looks once, back at the city that raised him, the city that betrayed and loved and cursed him. And then he turns again and walks into legend because he won't stop. Not tonight, not ever. He'll wander, lose people, find others, found cities, inspire epics. And in time, long after Greece and Troy are dust, he'll become the root of something else. Rome. But tonight, he's just a man with a father on his back, a child by his side, and a city burning behind him. You follow. The fire doesn't chase. It doesn't need to. It already lives in the stories. You walk in silence, the kind of silence that only comes after disaster, like the world is trying to remember how to breathe again. The dirt path stretches out ahead. Somewhere far away the sea murmurs. Somewhere farther the gods are already planning the next catastrophe. But for now, just this. Just footsteps. Stars. Ash clinging to your hair. The night is still warm, with the memory of Troy. The path smooths beneath your feet. The dust lighter now, no longer thick with ash. You feel it. This part of the world breathes differently. The air is cleaner. The wind smells like pine and old stone. Somewhere in the distance, you hear waves again. Quieter this time. Less dramatic. You're far from Troy. You're in Iolcus now. A small kingdom with ambitions too big for its borders and a royal family with a knack for generational drama. The sun here rises behind hills instead of city walls, and you can almost believe, for a moment, that the gods might leave this place alone. They don't, of course, because today Hera is watching. She stands just off the road, veiled, quiet. Not in her usual glory. No peacock chariot, no thunderous presence. Just a woman in a cloak. Waiting. You step off the path. Behind a crooked laurel tree, you watch as a man approaches her. Broad shoulders, sun-bleached tunic, a lion's skin, slung across his back. Not Hercules, not this time. This is Jason. You've heard the name before, probably attached to "and the Argonauts," like it's a brand. But you're about to learn that before he was a legend, he was a barefoot prince, with one sandal and a stubborn streak. He doesn't recognize Hera, that's part of the test. She asks for help crossing the river. He hesitates just for a second, but then lifts her in his arms, steps into the current, and that's when she decides. This one might be useful, because Hera's got problems. Specifically, Peleus, Jason's uncle, who's stolen the throne and insulted her temples one too many times. She doesn't want revenge directly. No, that would be too obvious, too satisfying. She wants to inspire someone else to cause a little divine chaos. So Jason gets an idea. Not his, of course, planted like a seed in his ambition. He'll confront Peleus, ask for the throne back, march into the throne room like he belongs there. And Peleus, he laughs. Not a villain's laugh, not mustache twirling, just annoyed, like someone being asked to share a chair. He looks Jason up and down and says, "Sure, I'll give it back when you bring me the golden fleece." You pause because this is the start of one of the oldest fool's errands in mythology, and Jason, dear earnest Jason, agrees. Here's the thing most people forget. Jason wasn't a hero yet. He wasn't even particularly special, but he believed he could be. And belief in Greek myth is just gasoline waiting for a spark. You blink, and suddenly you're standing on a dock again, déjà vu but smaller. The ship behind you is strange, beautiful, fast-looking in the way birds are fast. A galley crafted by Argus with a hull that creaks like it's alive, because it is. The prow is carved with the face of Hera's sacred oak, gifted to the ship by Athena herself. It speaks, softly. Warnings usually, bad puns occasionally. This is the Argo, and soon it will carry the most chaotic crew in mythology. The Argonauts, Heracles, Orpheus, Castor, and Pollux. Even Atalanta. The only woman in the bunch, and frankly the only one with consistent common sense. Jason calls them to adventure. His voice cracks a little when he does, but no one says anything. Because this is a quest, a real one, a prophecy in motion. The kind of journey the gods watch while snacking, but before they sail, Hera meets Jason once more, alone. This time she's not veiled. She appears in full divinity, eyes like stormlight, voice like polished bronze. She doesn't bless him. She makes a deal. Bring back the fleece, do something great, and she'll make sure Peleus doesn't live to regret his arrogance. Jason agrees. You wonder if he even understands what he's trading, because gods don't give gifts. They give tests disguised as instructions. And Hera, she's smiling. This isn't about Jason. It's about sending a message. As the Argo pulls away from the shore, sails catching in a wind that tastes faintly of ambition and sea salt, you sit near the water's edge. The sand here is warm, the waves gentle. For now. But you know what's coming. Dragons, murder, magic, love stories written in blood. Still, the ship cuts through the waves like it belongs there, like it doesn't know yet that half the people on board won't make it home. And above, the gods lean closer. You lie back. Let the sound of oars and prophecy lull you. You feel it before you see it. The air thickens, not with heat or moisture, but with the kind of electric stillness that comes before a very bad decision. The sea has gone glassy beneath the Argo. The sky is heavy, not stormy, just waiting. You can hear the creak of the mast, the slow drag of the oars, and somewhere below deck, the unmistakable sound of someone throwing up into a bucket. Again. You're not sure how many days it's been since Jason and his band of underqualified adventurers set sail, but morale is somewhere between nervous humming and existential dread. The men are sunburnt, blistered, arguing about who's supposed to cook, and frankly, nobody has any idea where the Golden Fleece actually is, except Jason. Or at least, he pretends he does. And now, land. Colchis. A kingdom at the edge of the world, ruled by King Aeetes, who could write the book on trust issues and booby traps. You step off the ship with Jason and the others onto a shore that doesn't welcome you. The trees are too tall, the birds too quiet. You've wandered into the kind of place that doesn't like visitors, and somewhere in a high tower, Medea is watching. She sees everything, the daughter of Aeetes, granddaughter of the sun god Helios, priestess of Hecate, sorceress with a flair for theatrics. She spent her whole life surrounded by curses and whispers. Her hair is like spilled ink. Her gaze could burn holes through bronze. And today, she falls in love with Jason. You blink. You want to ask the obvious question. Why him? It's not the hair, or the sandal, or his track record, 0. It's divine intervention, of course. Aphrodite and her son Eros shooting little arrows of bad. Judgment straight into Medea's ribcage. She sees Jason and decides, yes, that one. That confused little prince with no plan and too much optimism. I will burn down my life for him. And oh, does she? Because here's the challenge. King Aeetes tells Jason he can have the fleece if he yokes 2 fire-breathing bulls, plows a field with them, plants a handful of dragon's teeth, and fights whatever sprouts out of the dirt. Reasonable. Jason says, of course. Internally, he's screaming. Enter Medea. She sneaks out at night, hood drawn, voice low, herbs tucked into the folds of her sleeves. She meets Jason under a moon too bright for comfort and offers him a salve, thick, oily, smelling like sage and burnt sugar. Rub this on your skin, she says, not blinking. Jason stares at it like it might grow teeth. It'll protect you, she adds, from fire. He obeys. Of course he does. She could hand him a jar of spoiled fish guts, and he'd probably say, thank you, the next morning. Jason walks into the field shirtless, covered in glowing ointment, and absolutely pretending. He's done this before. The bulls snort smoke, the dirt trembles. But Jason holds his ground, his skin unburned, his muscles flexing in ways that make at least 2 Argonauts uncomfortable. He wins, plants the dragon's teeth, and up come warriors, fully formed, armed. Confused, Jason doesn't panic because Medea told him what to do. He throws a rock into the middle of them, and like the world's worst game of dodgeball, they turn on each other. Jason stands still. Covered in sweat, dragon dirt, and whatever was in that salve, the crowd goes wild. King Aeetes, not amused, tells him he'll never get the fleece, so Medea takes it. Yes, there's a dragon guarding it. Yes, she puts it to sleep with magic. Yes, she betrays her kingdom, her father, her gods. She does it anyway. For Jason, they run, and you run with them, through the forests of Colchis, across rivers that hiss at their feet, on to the Argo, where Medea boards like a storm. And here's where the story gets dark, because King Aeetes chases them, and Medea, desperate, cornered, heartbroken by her own choices, kills her brother, a child. She scatters his pieces in the ewe. See, so her father will have to stop and gather them. The gods turn away. Jason says nothing, and the ship sails on. You sit on the deck now, wind on your face, nausea in your soul. Medea stands at the prow, staring ahead like she can see the price of every spell she'll ever cast. Jason thanks her. Medea doesn't answer. She already knows they'll reach Iolcus. They'll return heroes. For a while. But love bought with magic and blood never lasts. You know where this goes. Betrayals, murders, poisoned wedding gowns, Medea in a chariot pulled by dragons. But not tonight. Tonight, the sea is calm. The stars are watching. And the fleece, bright as a god's broken promise, rests at Jason's feet. You lie down on the deck. The wood is warm from the sun. The ship creaks gently. A lullaby made of regrets. You hear hooves first, heavy, uneven, clattering against stone. It's a strange rhythm, 1, 2, and pause. Then a shuffling drag that echoes through the tunnels like something trying to remember how to walk. You're underground now. Cool air clings to your skin. The walls sweat. You're in the labyrinth. Not just a maze, the maze. A palace of stone built sideways and inward, designed to confuse even the gods. The further you walk, the more you forget which way you came. And that sound, the hooves, the breathing, follows you like a question you can't quite answer. You turn a corner, and there it is. A thread, thin, golden, stretched tight across the wall and into the shadows. You reach for it, gently press your fingers to the line and feel it pulse, not like rope, like something alive, something leading someone. You follow. Not far ahead, Theseus is walking. He looks like he's trying very hard to be the main character. Tunic artfully ripped, hair wind-tossed even though there's no wind down here. His sword gleams, freshly polished, and in his left hand, the thread unspools from his fingers like destiny spun into string. Ariadne gave it to him. You remember? Her, princess of Crete, sister to the monster, smarter than the architects who built the maze. She saw Theseus, heard his plan, and decided, on a whim, or maybe hope, to help him survive. She handed him the thread and a kiss and told him not to waste either. You'd think that was enough for a love story, but you know better by now. Theseus walks deeper into the dark, and then he sees it, the Minotaur, half man, half bull, towering, snorting. Foam clings to its lips. Its eyes are glassy with hunger and confusion, and something else, something that looks too much like loneliness. This is no sleek monster, no noble beast. It's a mistake, a punishment, a secret the palace tried to bury in stone. And Theseus? He judges. You flinch. You want to yell, talk to him maybe. Offer a snack, but no, the myths need violence. They wrestle. The clash of horn and blade, grunts and howls. You watch as Theseus moves faster than expected, smarter than you gave him credit for. He sidesteps, ducks, then drives his sword deep, right under the collarbone. The Minotaur falls. No roar, no scream. Just silence. A long one. And for a second, just a second, you wonder who the real monster was. The boy raised to kill or the beast raised to be killed, but the moment's gone. Theseus wipes his blade, grabs the thread, and walks back through the labyrinth without looking over his shoulder and... Ariadne? She's waiting at the shore, eyes wide, heart already packed and ready to run. She left everything, family, royalty, safety, because she believed in him, in love, in a future where she was more than the girl who gave him a ball of string. They sailed together for one night. One because as soon as they reach Naxos, Theseus abandons her while she sleeps. He leaves her on the beach like forgotten luggage and sails away. No note, no goodbye, just the sound of waves and betrayal. You sit beside her now. She's barefoot in the sand, eyes swollen, hair tangled, still holding the thread. Like maybe if she pulls hard enough, he'll come back. She doesn't scream, doesn't cry, just stares at the horizon like she's memorizing every wave. And here's where the myth splits. Some say she died there, heartbroken. Others say Dionysus, god of wine, madness, and unexpected second chances, found her, fell in love with her, gave her a crown of stars and made her a goddess. Depends on how generous your version of fate is. Theseus, by the way, he forgot to change the sails on his ship. White meant success, black meant failure. His father, watching from a cliff in Athens, saw the black sails and threw himself into the sea. That's how the Aegean got its name. You lie back in the sand now, the breeze curling through your hair. The thread is still wrapped around your wrist, warm and golden. Somewhere in the distance the labyrinth still stands, waiting for someone new, someone brave or foolish or both. You close your eyes. It's cold here. Not the biting kind of cold, but the quiet kind, the kind that lives in marble halls and empty temples. The air smells like metal and moss, like rain that hasn't fallen yet. You feel the shift before you see it. The way your footsteps echo more than they should, the way the shadows tilt just a little too sharply. You've entered a myth wrapped in warnings, and at the center of it all, a girl with snakes in her hair. Medusa. You've heard her name whispered like a curse, painted as a monster, a killer, a villain with stone eyes and a venomous crown. But what they don't usually tell you, what gets scrubbed out of the neat little bedtime versions, is that she wasn't always a monster. You step deeper into the cave. The walls glisten with damp. Something drips rhythmically in the dark. Like a god tapping their fingers on time, Medusa waits inside, not snarling, not hunting, just dying still. Once she was beautiful. That's where it all started. A mortal girl with hair like midnight and eyes that caught the ocean. She served in Athena's temple, chaste and faithful, a quiet candle in a cold room. But Poseidon saw her and wanted her. And gods, as we've learned by now, don't handle wanting very well. He took her inside the temple. And Athena? She didn't punish Poseidon. She punished Medusa, turned her hair to serpents, made her face a curse, gave her the power to turn anyone who looked at her into stone. Not protection, isolation. You stop at the edge of her chamber. She's there, curled in a corner, surrounded by statues. They're not arranged. They're not trophies. They look like they were trying to run, or speak, or maybe apologize. Medusa doesn't speak. Her eyes are closed, her breath slow. You think for a moment that maybe she's sleeping, but the snakes are awake, twitching, hissing softly like they're dreaming. For her, and that's when you hear him, Perseus. Golden boy, demigod, fresh off a divine scavenger hunt. He's armed with gifts, a mirrored shield from Athena, winged sandals from Hermes, a blade that cuts through anything, and a satchel that can carry impossible things. He's not cruel, just determined. He was sent to kill a monster, so he doesn't. Look directly. He raises the polished shield, walks backward into the chamber and sees her reflection. She opens her eyes, not wide. Just enough, and that's all it takes. He moves fast, sword out, a hiss of air, one clean motion, the snakes scream, then silence. Medusa's head falls, eyes still open, still dangerous. He doesn't flinch. He wraps it in the satchel. He's all ready. Turning to leave. You remain. Because here's the thing. The head still holds power. Perseus will use it again, to turn his enemies to stone, to silence kings, to escape danger. Her curse becomes his tool, her tragedy becomes his weapon. And Medusa. She doesn't get a second act, or so it seems. But listen closely, there's more. From her blood 2 beings are born. Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a golden giant. 2 symbols of flight and strength, pulled from her body like poetry, even. In death she gives birth to legends. You step around the statues now, each one frozen mid-movement. Some are armored, some are not. One has tears carved into his cheeks, like the stone tried to weep. Medusa didn't ask for any of this. She was a girl, then a warning, then a weapon, then a myth, and the world remembers her by the wrong part. Outside, Perseus is already flying. The poultry cave feels quieter without her, not safer, just lonelier. You sit where she once sat, cross-legged, your back to the wall. The snakes are gone. The curse has been carried away. But the silence remains, and you wonder. If someone had just covered the mirrors, if someone had just looked away first, if someone had asked her what she wanted. But no one ever does. You trace a finger through the dust. Shapes, stories, maybe sympathy. And far above, the stars wheel slowly overhead, indifferent and ancient. You lie still, the ground is cool, solid. You're standing on the edge of a cliff now. The air is thinner here, sharper. Every breath feels like it belongs to someone else, someone who doesn't need to fight for each inhale. The sea below churns, dark and endless, as if it's trying to swallow the horizon itself. Far across the water, the sun sets, painting the sky with colors no mortal eye should ever have to witness. It's beautiful, it's terrifying, and yet it feels like the calm before an even darker storm. This is the edge of the world. And you're here because you've been called, like so many before you, or maybe you're just curious. In front of you stands a man, a figure wrapped in a cloak, tall, imposing, a king. His name is Orpheus. He doesn't speak, doesn't need. 2, he's playing the lyre, his fingers moving with such grace that the strings seem to hum under his touch, not with sound but with feeling. You can almost taste the music in the air. It's soft, haunting, like the last note of a lullaby you didn't want to end. Orpheus is beautiful, in the way only a man with perfect music can be. He's a poet, a musician, a philosopher all wrapped up into one, an immortal soul trapped in a mortal body. You're standing in the underworld now. You can tell by the heavy silence that envelops you. This is the realm of the dead, where no one speaks, where everything is muted, where love is a ghost waiting to pass through. And Orpheus? Orpheus has come here for one reason: Eurydice, his wife, the love of his life. She died too young, too suddenly, and Orpheus, broken by grief, refused to accept it. So he traveled to the underworld, not as a god but as a man with nothing left to lose. His music was his weapon, his plea. He sang, he played, and in a land where nothing had a voice, his song cut through the silence like a dagger through the dark. The gods of the underworld heard him. Hades himself felt the pull of the song, the power of it. He agreed to release Eurydice, but there was one condition: Orpheus must lead her back to the world of the living. He cannot look back. Not until they both cross the threshold. No second chances. You can see it now, the tension in Orpheus's posture. He's moving slowly, one step at a time, his heart racing faster than his feet. Eurydice follows him, the silence between them growing as thick as the shadows that stretch behind them. Every step is an eternity. Every sound makes Orpheus want to turn, to check, to see if she's still there, still alive. The urge is overwhelming. You feel it too. But Orpheus keeps moving, his hands still resting gently on his lyre, the notes soft and steady, pulling him forward, keeping his gaze fixed ahead. They're so close. You can see the light now, the faint glow that marks the border between life and death. The moment when the living world will reach out and claim Eurydice back. She's almost there. Orpheus is almost there, and here it is, the moment that shatters. A slight hesitation, a breath too short, a glance over his shoulder. He turns, and just like that, Eurydice is gone. 1 second, she's there. The next, she's swallowed by the darkness. Hades' realm takes her back, and the song dies. Orpheus collapses to his knees, empty. His lyre, once his greatest weapon, is now just a hollow thing, useless in the face of the loss he can never undo. No second chances. You step closer, but Orpheus doesn't look up. He doesn't notice you. He's been forsaken by the one thing that could have saved him, hope. And now he sits here, on the edge of death's door, surrounded by echoes of a love that can never be reclaimed. He sings again, but it's not the same song. This one is broken. It's no longer filled with the music of life. It's a mournful dirge, a lament for a love that was lost not to time, but to the weight of an impossible choice. You wonder what could have happened if he hadn't turned. What if he had trusted the silence? What if he had believed the gods, the universe, or whatever was watching over them, and never looked back? Would Eurydice have made it out? Would they have lived together, walking in the sunlight again? But the myths don't allow that. They don't allow second chances, only lessons learned too late. And Orpheus? He plays on. His music carries in the wind, but it's no longer a plea. It's an acceptance of the pain, of the irrevocable. You step back, your heart heavy with a question that never gets answered, and as you turn, you leave Orpheus behind. The lyre's song still echoes in your mind, twisting like the wind through the trees. You walk away. It smells sweet here, not in the cloying way like too much perfume in a small elevator, but rich like crushed roses and honeyed figs left out under the sun, the kind of sweetness that makes your teeth ache before you even open your mouth. You're in a garden now, somewhere high and hidden, where the walls are made of carved marble and every breeze carries whispers. Not gossip. Worship. The soft murmurs of mortals and gods alike. All for her, Aphrodite. You see her before she speaks. She doesn't walk so much as drift, the way mist does when it knows exactly where it wants to go. Her skin catches the light, like a memory you can't quite grasp, and her smile, oh, her smile is dangerous, not sharp, not cruel, but knowing, as if she's seen you fall in love before you even have. She stops in front of a stone basin filled with water and petals. A bronze mirror floats lazily in the center. She dips her hand in and stirs once. The petals spiral. The reflection changes. You see Helen. You see Paris. You see someone leaning in too close. Someone looking for love in all the wrong lifetimes. And then the image shifts again. Now it's just Aphrodite's eyes in the water, and they're looking straight at you, she laughs. It's not cruel. Not quite, but there's a weight in it. Like she knows exactly what she's cost the world, and doesn't regret it. You walk with her through her garden. The flowers are all in bloom, but none of them look natural. Their colors are too deep. Their petals curve in impossible ways. One glows faintly when you pass it, and another seems to sigh when touched. Love, Aphrodite says finally, as if you've asked a question, is not kind. You nod, because by now you know. She leads you to a table. On it are bottles, glass, and clay, gold and bone. Each is labeled in a language that's more sensation than word. You don't read the letters, you feel them. One smells like a summer you've never had. Another hums like your heartbeat when someone brushes your hand, and lingers too long. Aphrodite lifts one. Infatuation, she says, it's light pink, glimmers when it moves. Another, delirium. This one's dark, thick. It sticks to the glass like guilt. And then a third, forgetfulness. She holds it out to you. Useful, she says, but temporary. You take it. You don't drink. There's a sound in the distance, bare feet running, laughter, then crying. You don't turn around, you know what it is. Someone else has walked into the garden looking for something they can't name. Aphrodite watches you. I don't make people fall in love, she says, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. I just open the door. You believe her. Mostly. But you also know she doesn't close it. She plucks a flower, it bleeds a little. She tucks it into your pocket, you don't feel it, but it's there now. A soft curse, you step away from the table, and suddenly you're not in the garden anymore, you're at a battlefield. Bodies lie scattered like petals, horses scream in the distance, and on the hill, Paris is dying. Helen stands nearby, her face unreadable. Somewhere else Menelaus roars her name, charging like love can be won with a blade. But Aphrodite? She's watching it all, smiling. Some historians argue that Aphrodite was a later addition to the myth, that love as a force, this intense, chaotic divine force, wasn't always part of war, but others say she was always there, just unnamed. You believe the second group, because nothing destroys more quietly, more beautifully than love. You're back in the garden now. A breeze lifts the curtains. The bottles are gone. Aphrodite stands at the edge of the terrace, looking out over a sea that seems too still, too perfect. She says nothing, just raises a hand and the air shifts. You feel it in your chest, in your teeth, a pulse of something old and complicated. Love, not the soft kind, the kind that ruins. You leave before. She turns around, and as you walk away, the flower in your pocket begins to wilt. The road is empty now, not quiet, just empty. There's wind, always wind, whispering over dry stone and cracked earth, a faint rustle through olive trees long past their harvest. You walk alone, but not unloved. The stories are with you. They hang from your shoulders like cloaks worn thin by time. You're on Olympus again, but not the version from paintings. No thunderbolts, no golden halls, no flaming chariots screaming across the sky. This is the backside of the mountain, the side the tourists don't visit. Worn steps, mossy columns, a path that only gods remember walking. And at the top, Zeus. He's older now. Not in body. He's immortal after all, but in presence. You can feel the weariness in the way he leans against a column, how the lightning bolt at his side flickers. Without conviction. He's watching the horizon like it owes him an apology. He senses you. You expect a roar, a flash, a speech about power or fate. Instead, he chuckles. "You again," he says, voice like gravel and old sky. "You've been following me, haven't you?" You don't deny it. He looks different than the goose, or the bull, or the rain cloud, or the golden shower, the swan, the flame. So many disguises, you've lost count. So has he. You wonder how many forms a god can wear before he forgets which one was ever real. He sits, just sits, and gestures for you to do the same. You do. It started simple, he says. Curiosity, a woman walking alone, a laugh heard from a temple. I thought, why not? You say nothing because there is nothing to say. Zeus looks down at his hands. I tried everything, didn't I? Bird, bull, light, thunder, love, control. I chased what I wanted until it stopped being about the wanting, a pause, and started being about the chase. He sighs. It echoes. You know what's funny? He asks, not really expecting an answer. None of it lasted. The wars, the heroes, the prophecies, not even the love. I gave them myths, they gave me statues. I gave them Helen, they gave me fire. You want to ask why the goose, why the games, why start 1,000 ships when you could have just stayed still? But he answers before you can speak, because standing still is harder. He closes his eyes. The clouds gather over his head like a crown. Not menacing, just present, like a sky that remembers being blue. You look around. The garden is gone. The battlefield is quiet. The palace of Troy, the Argo, the labyrinth, all echoes now. But the stories, they're still here. They always will. Zeus opens his eyes, one last time, and smiles, not like a god, but like a man who finally remembers the ending of a joke he started centuries ago. I think, he says softly, I'd like to be something else now. He stands, not tall, not grand, just tired. The wind picks up. You close your eyes, and when you open them, he's gone. In his place, a tree, olive, twisted, rooted deep into the mountain. Its leaves shimmer faintly with light that's not from this world, and high on a branch a single white feather. You reach out, touch it. It's warm. You smile because you understand now. Not every myth ends in fire. Some end in stillness, in silence, in the soft decision to stop changing and simply be. The feather drifts down, lands gently on your shoulder. You let it stay. The world fades around you, slowly, kindly. The wind becomes a lullaby. The sky dims, not into night, but into rest. You lie back. Let the weight fall away. Let the gods dream without you for once. Let your breath slow. Let the stories dissolve. Let go. End of script. Sweet dreams.